A human being?
Not only a human being, but
Not a bot.
No, but he's been in it. His market-making firm actually accounted for 15% of all the options traded in 2008, which is a lot. That's 1 in 8 trades.
That does seem like a lot for one guy, and also like a long time ago. Like you were just like a high school student dreaming of someday wearing a fleece vest with the name of an investment bank on it.
That was before my my dreams of being a hedge funder, and before I knew I'd end up here.
I believe that you wanted to be a hedge fund kid from like birth, basically. Okay, so as I'm sure you all know, Matt and I used to do a podcast together called TLDR, and the last few months, Matt, I have been thinking that I kind of miss it. We talked a lot about markets and what's going on in the news, and it's been a very busy year in news. It feels like we burned through a lot of plot this year.
Yeah, on the one hand, it has felt crazy, and on the other hand, it really hasn't. I loved this chart when we were prepping for this podcast, and if you look at it, it shows the average annual return of the S&P in blue, and then it also shows the biggest losses in every year. And this year actually is basically just another one of the same.
It was. When you pulled this chart up when we were prepping for the show, I did find it very reassuring because like all those blue lines are like where the S&P ended up at the end of the year, and all the red dots are like the moments of panic where I would text you and be like, "It's happening. I need to sell everything."
Yeah, and thank God you didn't.
Well, how do you know that? Anyway. We run a trading platform, and am I right to say that we run the largest trading platform in Canada?
That actually has been cleared by legal.
We did check this out. We thought it was true. It turns out to be true.
It's good when it works out that way.
And one of the interesting things about running a trading platform, especially one that's so big, is that we get a lot of information about what people are doing out there when they're trading. And I would love to start out by looking at, in this very, plot-heavy first part of the year, what have our clients been doing and how have they been doing?
So before I get into this, I probably should have started with this. I'm supposed to say this is not investment advice. I definitely wouldn't follow any of Devin's investment advice, and I also probably wouldn't follow my own.
Thanks.
But I think it's this chart and some of this analysis we did, I think, is pretty helpful and actually really tells the story of the year through our clients' performance. And so, first, like the first part of the year, it really was just a continuation of 2025. And so, here we show basically the distribution of client returns. The top purple line is the top 10% of clients. The bottom is the bottom 10%. And at the beginning of the year in January, it was a banger year. Basically, all of our clients were up. The top clients were up about 10%, and it really just felt like a continuation of 2025.
Yeah, like first quarter felt like fifth quarter of 2025.
Exactly, and then it sort of changed on a dime. And starting in February, markets really turned, and and they continued going. And by the end of March, we actually got to a point where the vast majority of our clients were down, and if you were up 3%, like immediately 3%, that has you in the top 10% of clients.
I have to say, like, this was a terrible time, but also like weirdly reassuring to me personally, because like as a pessimist, there's something reassuring about when it's finally happening. I'm like, I don't have to wait for it. The bad times are here.
Yeah, and and this is the point I was making about not following Devin's investment advice. As soon as he thought the bad times were here, it turned on a dime. And the third part of the year was just a complete reversal. I don't know if you remember those first couple of days in April. Stocks just went up every single day, 10 days in a row. Yeah, it was actually the longest consecutive streak since 1950, I think.
Okay, so I guess, the age-old lesson of like, don't think too much about the present. It could change. Look at markets over the long term. This year sort of bore that out. But like, I'm interested in looking at, I think we like to compare ourselves to other people as traders. The people who are at the top 10%, the people who are at the bottom 10%, what's the difference in like what they're doing, what they're holding?
Yeah, I mean, so this was actually one of Devin's ideas that he thought was going to be really simple, but then actually turned out with me, spending a weekend away from my wife, just like trying to figure out how to pull the data. But actually, it turned out that the data was pretty cool. And so, the interesting thing, let's like start with the people that lagged. Like the biggest reason that the people, in the bottom 10% lagged the rest of our clients was that they were overweight Tesla. And on average,
how many people are overweight Tesla? You don't have to say.
I mean, a lot of people tend to be. I mean, we have about 165,000 clients that own about $1 billion of Tesla. It's the second most popular U.S. stock, and it rallied big into the end of last year and then completely reversed this year. And so, if it's down about 16%, a lot of people are long it, and that was a big drag on returns.
And then, what about people who are doing well? Is there like a prevailing narrative there?
Yeah, this one was actually pretty fun because, when I actually pulled the analysis a couple weeks ago, it was one story.
Right.
And that story was, everyone, who was in the top 10% was overweight big Canadian oil companies like Suncor and Enbridge. And then, bam, over the last couple weeks, it completely changed. And now, as you can see, the biggest holdings are basically just all of the semiconductor stocks. I mean, if you've owned Intel over the last couple of weeks, like that's been amazing. It's pretty rare to have something double in just a couple of weeks.
Intel back from the dead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the other one that snuck in there, but the only thing that's not a semiconductor that snuck in there was GME, which all one that's who is in the top 10%.
People who are doing well. Is there like a prevailing narrative there?
Yeah, this one was actually pretty fun because, when I actually pulled the analysis a couple weeks ago, it was one story.
Right.
And that story was, everyone, who was in the top 10% was overweight big Canadian oil companies like Suncor and Enbridge. And then, bam, over the last couple weeks, it completely changed. And now, as you can see, the biggest holdings are basically just all of the semiconductor stocks. I mean, if you've owned Intel over the last couple of weeks, like that's been amazing. It's pretty rare to have something double in just a couple of weeks.
Intel back from the dead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
and like what they're doing, what they're holding.
Yeah, I mean, so this was actually one of Devin's ideas that he thought was going to be really simple, but then actually turned out with me, spending a weekend away from my wife, just like trying to figure out how to pull the data. But actually, it turned out that the data was pretty cool. And so, the interesting thing, let's like start with the people that lagged. Like the biggest reason that the people, in the bottom 10% lagged the rest of our clients was that they were overweight Tesla. And on average,
how many people are overweight Tesla? You don't have to say.
I mean, a lot of people tend to be. I mean, we have about 165,000 clients that own about $1 billion of Tesla. It's the second most popular U.S. stock, and it rallied big into the end of last year and then completely reversed this year. And so, if it's down about 16%, a lot of people are long it, and that was a big drag on returns.
And then, what about people who are doing well? Is there like a prevailing narrative there?
Yeah, this one was actually pretty fun because, when I actually pulled the analysis a couple weeks ago, it was one story.
Right.
And that story was, everyone, who was in the top 10% was overweight big Canadian oil companies like Suncor and Enbridge. And then, bam, over the last couple weeks, it completely changed. And now, as you can see, the biggest holdings are basically just all of the semiconductor stocks. I mean, if you've owned Intel over the last couple of weeks, like that's been amazing. It's pretty rare to have something double in just a couple of weeks.
Intel back from the dead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the other one that snuck in there, but the only thing that's not a semiconductor that snuck in there was GME, which
Also incredibly back from the dead. I wish it would die personally, but it's kind of fun to follow.
it's big Canadian oil companies like Suncor and Enbridge, and then analysis a couple weeks ago, it was one story.
People who are doing well. Is there like a prevailing narrative there?
Yeah, this one was actually pretty fun because, when I actually pulled the analysis a couple weeks ago, it was one story.
Right.
And that story was, everyone, who was in the top 10% was overweight big Canadian oil companies like Suncor and Enbridge. And then, bam, over the last couple of weeks, it completely changed. And now, as you can see, the biggest holdings are basically just all of the semiconductor stocks. I mean, if you've owned Intel over the last couple of weeks, like that's been amazing. It's pretty rare to have something double in just a couple of weeks.
Intel back from the dead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the other basically just all of, and now, as you can see, the biggest holdings are basically just all of the semiconductor stocks. As you can see, and then bam, over the last couple of weeks, it completely changed. And now, as you can see, the biggest holdings are basically just all of the semiconductor stocks. I mean, if you've owned Intel over the last couple of weeks, like that's been amazing. It's pretty rare to have something double in just a couple of weeks.
Intel back from the dead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and then bam, over the last couple of weeks, it completely changed. And now, as you can see, the biggest holdings are basically just all of the semiconductor stocks. I mean, if you've owned Intel over the last couple of weeks, like that's been amazing. It's pretty rare to have something double in just a couple of weeks.
Intel back from the dead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the other one that snuck in there, but the only thing that's not a semiconductor that snuck in there was GME, which
Also incredibly back from the dead. I wish it would die personally, but it's kind of fun to follow.
I don't know, don't say that. There are a lot of people that don't agree with you.
True. I mean, TLDR, very crazy year, but also kind of not a crazy year. But it's good to see that like we're in a good moment. And thank you for. Okay, this is the part of the show where we are going to talk about the amazing, awesome, wonderful, useful things that you guys have been building. We have 3 big product developments that are going to be really interesting to traders, and we have 2 people on stage here to talk about them, plus Matt.
Yeah, I was joking earlier about Claude Code doing everything. We do actually have a great team of engineers and designers and a lot of other people who have, made a lot of the product improvements that we've been working on come to life. And 2 of them here are with us. Jane Markina has, done a lot of work on this, and Bobak Ansari. Welcome to the trade show.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome you guys. And then for those of you who don't, for those of us who don't know what you do, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do at Wealthsimple?
Yeah, excited to be here. Well, I'm an active trader who just so happens to manage the engineering team for Advanced Trading Platform.
And I lead design on our options product.
And as Bobak alluded to, we try to have everyone who works on the trade product, like one of the requirements is like you have to really be into trading. You have to want to use this stuff to understand the best way to build it. So I know you guys are both traders. Can you describe yourself as a trader?
Absolutely. I'm more of a high risk, high reward type of person. I'm in and out. I definitely try not to buy high and sell low.
That is very stressful for me. I'm glad that we're not married. Jane, same as Bobak, different?
No, I think I'm pretty much the opposite. Not that I try to buy high, sell low, but I trade small, trade often. I tend to sell options. That's my trade. And I take my positions early, and I find this gives me high probability of profit and steadier returns.
This is calming to me. I'm not going to propose, but I feel like we could be a good match.
Done.
All right, Matt. can you give us an overview of what you guys have been working on?
Yeah, so I mean, we've worked on a lot of stuff, but it really boils down to sort of three big things that are really important for traders: speed, flexibility, and selection. On the speed front, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here, and it may like seem under the radar, but one of the things I'm most proud of is that we've actually cut our page load times in half on our web platform. And so it gets to the point that you're clicking around, going from page to page, and it feels basically instant. Beyond that, we've also, realized that people that are trading a lot need a lot more flexibility. And so we've revamped our nav and, brought everything you need to trade and oversee your positions all into one spot. So you not have to click around and go to several pages to do that. And then beyond that, we're, consistently adding assets and investment strategies that really let our clients take advantage of the moment. And so I'm excited to talk about some of those today.
Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is that you guys have essentially built an entirely new platform for pro traders, something that we're calling Trade Plus. Bobak, as someone who worked on this, can you take us through what it looks like?
Absolutely. Let's get right into it. All right. So for those who are familiar, this is our platform. This is what Wealthsimple that you know and love. You have our basic market details. You have our performance chart. Now, we'll take it to the next level into our new Trade Plus mode. All right.
So let's just take a pause here. I mean, this is just a completely different way to trade on Wealthsimple. Devin actually always makes this joke that charts are like the lingua franca of finance. I'm honestly not sure what lingua franca means.
Hilarious joke, by the way.
But I love a good chart. I think charts are super important, and we decided to put the chart forward first.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I might be in engineering, but I love charts. I like visuals. What I'll do, I'll just get these numbers out of the way here. Just really immerse myself into the chart. Once I'm here, I like to pull up some indicators. I personally look at moving averages. So I put a bunch of these out there to make this chart much more beautiful, much more alive. I'm going to zoom in and out a bit here just to see what's going on.
I mean, Bobak's basically like a financial astrologist here.
Oh, yeah. I love my crayons. So I've been following this stock for a while. We talk about semiconductors, and I can see this trending up, moving averages going up. And once I find a spot to hit, I'll enter my trade directly from the chart here, just by double clicking, and I'm in. I'll place my order right away without any delay, and I'll just enter my position there.
And I mean, for anyone that's in there and trying to take advantage of a quick move, like that, I think is a really big improvement.
Absolutely, yeah. The speed makes a big difference here, man. What's really cool is everything is in one screen. So what I could do is I could just pull up a bottom pane here that has my pending order. Go ahead and modify it. I could go ahead and cancel it, all in one screen.
Yeah, it's great. Super exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking about Intel earlier. You want to pull that one up?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have Intel here on my watch list here. I can see it. There's a good trend there, so we'll switch that to right away. All right, make that full screen. And if we take a look here at the trend, it's been going up.
I mean, that's quite a chart.
It's quite a chart, yeah. It's pretty nice. I wish right now I could just sell some right now.
Yeah, if
That's
you
like
had
the
some,
highest compliment that Matt's ever given. That's quite a chart.
Yeah,
I mean, it's up and to the right. It's a nice chart.
really nice, yeah.
So should we move on?
It's good.
So we have a new trading platform, essentially. It's faster, it's better, it's more useful to people who trade a lot. The next big thing we're going to talk about that we've been working on for a while is options. And even for someone like me who, I'm more passive than active when it comes to trading, I know just from being on Twitter that like options are the thing people talk about right now.
Yeah, and even more than just like the chatter, like this is another one where I think the chart really tells the story. So if you look at the estimate for retail options from the CBOE, that is quite a chart. Like you really don't see charts that 5x over 5 years that much, and this one really does.
Yeah, that's not a chart you have to squint at to see what it's saying. And Jane, we have dramatically increased the kinds of options that you can trade over the past few months. As someone who worked on this, do you want to take us through what's different, what's available now that wasn't before?
Yeah, of course. So we had support for options for a while, for a few years now, and we started with simple options like calls and puts that you could trade with us. But we've consistently been hearing from our clients that they want to trade more complex, more sophisticated strategies. And that's what we've been working on. So we have added quite a few strategies recently. First, we added support for vertical spreads, as well as calendar and diagonal spreads, which you can now trade with us. And then a couple of months ago, we launched support for iron condors and butterflies. So these are complex multi-leg strategies that you can also trade with us. And just recently, just a few days ago, I think, we launched naked options. So you can now sell uncovered puts and calls. And I think with this, we cover pretty much every standardized strategy that you would want to trade. And this gives you a way to trade just the way you like.
Okay. And now I'll ask a question that I know the answer to. What's the commission on making these trades?
Yeah, that's a great setup, but I think that's important to cover. We announced zero commissions at the end of last year, and it's still zero for all these strategies. And we are the only place in Canada where it is zero commission to trade options.
That sounds like a good deal. Okay, so we've added a lot of different complex strategies. Let's pick one, Iron Condor. Always wanted to know what it was. Can you take us through what it looks like to make a complex trade like this?
Yeah, and before I show how it's set up, I'll just quickly talk through what it is. So an Iron Condor is a strategy made up of 4 contracts that you trade in one order, and it profits when the stock stays in a range. So I'll show you here. You see Disney. Disney has earnings next week. And I think that, yes, earnings might mean that Disney is going to move up or down a lot. But in a few weeks, when my contracts expire, I'm going to say that Disney is going to trade in about the same range where it is right now.
So it's basically a bet on stability. You think, okay, Disney has earnings. It's going to fluctuate a little bit, but like the fundamentals are going to stay the same. And I want to make a little money for being right about that.
Yeah, exactly. And when earnings are gone and uncertainty goes down, I hope to make money off the volatility going down. So to put that trade on, let's trade an Iron Condor. I would switch to the options tab, just like in our regular mode. As I said, I like to go a little bit out of time to give myself some time to be right about the trade. And for the Iron Condor, I need to pick the top of the range. So I will pick this call here. This will be the top of the range where I think the stock is going to land. And then I'm going to buy a call, which will limit my losses. And then I will do the same thing on the put side. So I will sell this put and buy this put. And what I personally like about our experience, I'm probably biased here, but I click around like 4 times in the options chain. It's a pretty complex strategy, I think. And I find it really nice that I can check myself, make sure that I'm actually placing the Iron Condor that I want to be placing. I want a short Iron Condor because I like to collect money before I put the trade, not like pay for it. So I can check myself right here. And then I can also make sure that it is a strategy that's going to profit of the stability by looking at the graph here. And if the stock stays where this blinking dot is, so at the same spot, I stand to make $155. So that's a good deal for me. I would go and place this trade, but I think we're after hours. So yeah, I'll place this trade next week, I promise.
Okay, that's very cool, very intuitive, looks beautiful. And speaking of looking beautiful, you are, as well as a trader, a designer. So I want to give you a chance to talk your book here. What are you particularly proud of at the design here?
Yeah, I think as a designer, I'm very proud of how we've been managing to expand the selection of strategies to add complexity to what you can do with Wealthsimple without overcomplicating the experience. I hope it's still intuitive. I think there are signposts and ways for you to trade with clarity and confidence, and this makes me pretty proud of the work. And then as a trader, I'm going to plug it again. I personally am very happy about the zero commissions. So I said how I trade options often. I take my positions off early. So for that Iron Condor, I would have paid 4 times the commission on the open, 4 times the commission on the close. That would have been about $8 in the like standard options prices. And now I don't have to think about this, and I can make more profits. Better for me.
You know, Jane, I know wouldn't actually say this, but I think it's pretty important. she's actually been voting with her feet. I mean, I've been trying to get her to come over to Wealthsimple and put her options trading on our platform for a couple of years now. I was like, you're leading the options team. You really gotta do this. And it was, only about a month ago, as soon as we launched these strategies, that she pulled it over, and we got her. So I think that's something that makes that's something to be proud of.
Jane, we're doing all this to try to get you as a client, so I'm glad it worked. But thank you very much, and good luck on Disney. Okay, totally new trading strategy possible, available to talk about is something that folks have been interested in for a while, asking for a while. And Matt, we are launching futures. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. We are launching futures. I mean, I'm stoked. I think it's going to be awesome. Some of us have been playing with it already, and I think that it's really cool. I think it's not just something that I think is cool. It's also something that we've seen a lot of demand for. So if you actually remember that chart of options volumes that I showed earlier, here's a chart of retail futures volumes, and it really just looks like years ago. Not quite as high a level, but we're still talking about something that's basically doubling year over year, and that I think is really exciting, and I'm really excited to bring it to our clients.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to talk about futures, obviously, but I want to start with what is a future, because I think it speaks to why they've become so popular.
Yeah, I mean, so in some sense, a future is just a technical term for an instrument that, gives you the right something at some specified price at some date in the future. I guess it makes sense given the name. But people really like them because they allow you to trade everything from FX to commodities like oil and gold to stock indices or even crypto. They'll do it in big size because you can get a lot of leverage. They give you a lot of flexibility. You can trade them at any time, and they're some of the most liquid securities in the world. And you can also, go long or short, so you can express basically anything you want.
Yeah, and it's sort of a way of trading on what's happening in the world, right? So if say someone did something a little disruptive in the Middle East on a Saturday night, for instance, and you had a theory about how that might affect the market, with futures, you have a way to trade on that event.
Yeah, I mean, that is such a crazy hypothetical, but you can't actually trade on Saturdays, unfortunately. That's the one day of the week that my heart is broken and empty. But I've been anxiously awaiting the Sunday futures open every week for the last couple of weeks, because that's the time when you can see how investors are reacting to the big news over the weekend, whether it's the start of a conflict or the peace talks or all of the twists and turns in between. Right then you get to see gold, commodities, oil, stocks before anywhere else.
Yeah, it's increasingly a way to get a view on the relationship between the world and the market, right away, which is interesting. And for the folks who are out there wanting to trade futures right away, can you tell us when they're going to be available?
We're rolling them out over the next couple of weeks. And I forgot to say, probably the best part is they're going to be available for just $1 contract. So we're sticking with that.
Who could say no? Well, thank you for telling us what's coming up with Wealthsimple Trade. Thanks, Jane, Matt, and Bobak. And before we move on, a word from our sponsor.
Since we launched trading at Wealthsimple, we've saved clients over $4 billion in fees. That's enough money to buy the Leafs or as many private jets as Doug Ford could ever want. So now, in addition to saving traders money, we're giving serious traders some more support for those who are active, which we are calling active trader benefits. Starting in June, anyone who trades 50 times a month or more will get priority support, early access to an investment rep who can place trades for you. Plus, you'll earn a 3% match on any qualifying transfers.
To have someone whose advice and knowledge was was something that we respect and are interested in. And I think we found someone, in a guest that we coveted. Matt, is that right?
Yeah, I think coveted. I'm really happy that we managed to slide into his DMs, and he ended up right here.
Wait, he responded to Swap's DM, but not someone else's. Is that
Yeah, he didn't respond to Paul.
Wow. Paul,
But you can't you can't give up, and that's what we did.
okay,
You know quality when you see it.
exactly. Okay, we have with us a prolific trader, a polymath, someone I think of as a public intellectual. Jem Carson began his career as a volatility trader at RBC. He went on to found his own firm when he was still in his 20s, and I believe sold it for a lot of money. And he became one of the biggest market makers in S&P options. It is why in the world of options traders, you can think of him kind of like a pop star. Some of you may follow him at Jem Carson on X. I think of him as one of the last sensible men on X. No hate. The best part of X is it is not sensible. Ladies and gentlemen, Jem Carson.
Thank you. Canada, anytime I hop off the plane, there's like 2 or 3 people who know who I am.
You're big in Canada.
The brand is very strong in
Your
Canada,
brand is-
and kind, slightly left of center, open-minded. I love my Canadians. So thank you for having me today.
We're very happy to have you here. And this must not be your first time in Canada. You worked at RBC.
Yeah, so there was a gap, I'd say about 10 years where I didn't come here much, but more recently, last several years, I've been here quite a bit. But yeah, early in my career in the 20s, definitely spent some time in and out of Canada.
All right, for people who don't know you, I want to start with this. How did you get up on the stage? How did you come to be here on this stage? How did you become a person that would be asked to get up and give his opinion on things?
Oh God, if I know. I had a very unique upbringing. So I was born in London, lived in Turkey as a child, and then moved to Texas. And so I just grew up kind of thinking about things a little different than most, I think. I think that's where it all started. My parents moved to Norway, and I went to prep school on the East Coast. So I just had this very unique upbringing that really made me really the macro. I used to read The Economist cover to cover as a kid, and then was fortunate enough, I became a bit of what I call a experience collector. I went off to South America for a year in college, and at some point decided to take a leap and to do something that I was very interested in, but was definitely an unknown, which was to go to Chicago and start working out of college on the floor of the Chicago Board of Options Exchange. And, this is 1997, 98, right? This is right after long-term capital management imploded. So very different time for options. Paper tickets and the trading coats and a lot of screaming hand signals. I could, tell people my 4th language is what we call ARB, which is the hand signals. Which we could do a little bit
what
here.
Are your first 3 languages? That's
Well,
a lot.
Turkish. I grew up speaking Turkish and English, and then Spanish. So I lived in South America. So that was those were where it started. But the big idea here is experience, and there's no substitute for experience. We could go through all the books all day long, but hopefully I'm here to share what I've learned through 28 years of collecting experiences, and particularly in the financial markets.
So speaking of experiences, do you remember your first big trade?
Oh God. Yeah, I remember, I wouldn't say the first big trade, but there's this kind of rite of passage when they stick you in that pit for the first time. It's a bit of a locker room, it used to be at least down there, and everybody stands right next to each other, and then they put the new kid in there. Everybody kind of makes fun a little bit, and the broker quotes everything, and everybody kind of makes a market, and then they bury you. The broker just buries you with the whole trade. Everybody dies and watches the hilarity that comes through it. But there's a yes, you never forget your first trade, because they used to make it quite a scene. So, yeah, there's a whole process, or at least there used to be on the trading floor. When they trade something with you, you have to quickly go up to the top of the pit and signal that you're selling futures, and markets are moving, right? So there's a very active process, and so the results that came out of that are usually the order's too big, the action is moves the markets, people know it's coming, and they run it out in front of you. And so there's it's an unforgettable moment when you make your first trade.
So especially when you're doing it live, do did you ever get anything ridiculously wrong? Like, did you ever
Oh, God.
fat finger a trade?
Like, oh God, I have some stories from '08, right? We were the biggest market maker, or one of them, during the great financial crisis. And bid-ask spreads are so wide. As a firm, we were making many millions of dollars a day, but the volatility in those returns was also dramatic. And so, there's one particular story. I won't go into too much detail. We don't have a lot of time here today, but a broker came in, hit the bid on a trade. We were the biggest out there, so we took a big chunk of that trade. And then about 5 minutes later, or 3 minutes later, he came back and realized he went the wrong way on the trade. And market had moved, I think, 6% in that 3 minutes. That's how crazy it was at that moment.
Matt, you had that look of like, I've done that before.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone's done that.
But-
Flipping a sign is not unfortunately very
Texas
common.
hedge, right? That's But what came out of that is that broker, these are work with day in, day out. That there's a gentleman's kind of agreement. You have to stand by each other, help each other when things go wrong. But at that moment, the cost was so high, and the broker, came to me literally crying. He was going to lose his job. That's a situation. And somebody I'd worked with for 10 years. And, we broke the trade. I think it cost us, $1.5 million, $2 million. And because we did it, we also were very clear to everybody around us that you better do it or you're never going to trade with these guys again. And that's kind of the way it worked. And the guy, sure enough, like that's the market
no
worked. But
way
yeah, crazy,
I can't click
plenty
the
of other
button
crazy
right there, but
situations of
actually
mayhem,
really
if you might
the
imagine,
market
08, 09,
Good idea
being
that
one of the biggest market makers down there.
And insofar as we are here to gain wisdom from you, hear about things that you know about and have learned,
And then I'm leaving.
given that that's how you start out, that's a very particular experience to have when you're starting out trading. That's different from a lot of other people. What do you feel like you got from that? Like, what are the things that you're like, okay, I learned a couple things. I'm going to take this, still use this knowledge in my career now.
Yeah, I like to tell people, like, I started in the business when the machine was just a tin box with the door open and a bunch of gears. You could really understand what was happening. And it's now like a black box out in the ether. Nobody knows unless you really had that education. So I feel very fortunate to have started on the ground floor. There are not many people who have that or can get that now. But one of the things that I think is the most important, I think one of the things we've become known for as a firm, and I've become known for, is this idea of dealer positioning, right? And the flows that come off of positioning in the marketplace, particularly the nonlinear flows from options. And people are like, how did you learn that? Like, where did you read about that? Like I said, experience at the end of the day when you were one of the dealers, when you looked at your book, right? And the positions you had again and again told you where things were going because everybody had the same position on. And so eventually you had to start front running it, getting out in front of those deltas, out of those the vol move. And at some point you just realized this is a better indicator than it is even a business in terms of the market making side. And so the signal itself became even stronger than the actual bid ask of the option side itself. So that was really the driver. It was early on, even in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was an important thing that people didn't understand. But now, given how big options are, it's a dominant, critical part of trading. That's a total blind spot for a lot of people who don't fully appreciate those flows in the market microstructure.
Yeah, so I mean, that's fascinating. But it also just reminds me of something you sort of started with, which was like options were pretty niche. And they were, they're still relatively niche. They were really niche when you started getting into it. And so how did you, choose options of all types of instruments to really get into?
Early on, so I went to Rice University in Houston, Texas, and it's more of an engineering kind of school. I thought I would go into engineering. When I started, when you go to a place like that, the people who are traders are more quantitatively driven. And so very early on, when I started trading, the people I was surrounded with were not balance sheets and income statements. They were thinking about risk-adjusted returns and non-correlation. So I took derivatives classes really early, and being, again, my father's an engineer, my mother's an engineer. I just think that way. Everything's a machine. Everything's a problem to be solved. And so that mathematical part really appealed to me. Candidly, and I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit more, but they're better. I mean, once you understand what you're doing, I like to think of them as a superior technology. Stocks, bonds, even futures are up, down. It's two dimensions, right? You're taking on all the risk of an asset when you buy or sell an asset. And people think vol or options are almost like an asset class. They're not an asset class. It's the underlying distribution that underlies every asset. I could have two stocks, exact same industry, same market cap, and you would think they're the same if they didn't have a name on it. Peel back the option chain, what do you see? One is right distributed with a fat left tail. One's left distributed with a fat right tail. Different timelines. One might. What does that mean? What I just said. What does that mean? That means the right distributed one is likely to make money in most situations, but it has this existential risk, and where it could go bust. And the other one, likely to lose money in most scenarios, but if they solve a problem, they're going to take over the whole industry. And so that gives you a much more rich understanding. People talk about options being the tail that wag the dog, the tail that wags the dog. It's not the tail that wags the dog. It is the dog, right?
Yeah,
it is the three-dimensional dog. So you asked me a long-winded answer, but they're better. And I think I had an understanding of that early on. People who start to trade them begin to experience the benefits of them, maybe not fully appreciating, understanding what I'm saying here today. But I think intuitively it is a better product. Early on, there wasn't enough network effects, liquidity, other things. Options have hit their tipping point, and they really are, because of that, having convex growth. But
so what if people are interested in this and they want to learn about it, and they're what you're saying sounds good to them, but they're like, seems pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
How do you train yourself up? How do you start being interested in this stuff in a way that won't make you lose all your money?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, people put that cart before the horse. Understand statistics. And that doesn't mean you have to take a deep course on statistics. Understand distributions. Think about the
I'm out.
But it's not, the truth is, everybody here, it's accessible to everyone. We all actually think about things in that way without even, I'm guessing you don't just say good, bad when you think about things, right? You're naturally thinking about kind of probabilities and what are the odds of things. But there's this trick. When you start thinking more statistically in general, day to day, at some point it enters your life and you start to think about bets in terms of probabilities. The more we think about probabilities, the better we are at being traders or being investors. It's more precise. It's more, and that's when we talk, whether we're talking about macro or whether we're talking about flows, that's why we think about distributions. It's much more honest and precise. So I think that's step one, right? Is really start there. Before we talk about options, let's understand that, and after that, there's this guy named Jam Croissant on Twitter, which I recommend you go listen to and follow up on.
Heard of him.
He has a podcast or two you should check out. But there are plenty of great books out there which we could put out there for others to look up. But get a little bit of understanding of what options are, implied volatility, the basics. But after that, it's really about exposing yourself to the part of the distribution, or not the whole asset, but the part that you're betting on. That's why out of the money calls have worked so well for many that are looking for upside asymmetry. But also, that doesn't have to be the only thing. Maybe you're looking for downside asymmetry. Maybe you're looking at something to happen over time, but not quite yet. It allows for that level of precision. So I would just educate yourself a little bit in that. And then, like I said at the very beginning, no better way than a little bit of experience. You kind of have to fall down a couple times.
Yeah.
You got to trade a little bit and start small.
Lose some money.
Yeah, you'll lose a little money. That's how we learn, right? But again, I feel strongly that it's a superior tool. Once you learn how to use it, it takes a little bit of time and experience.
So this idea, I think it's probably worth staying on it for one more second, because it really, honestly, when we were talking about it over dinner, really blew my mind. And that was relatively early in the dinner. It was not like anything else was going on. But this idea that options are usually called the derivative. They're the derivative of the stock. But actually, in some sense, you can think of the stock as being the derivative of the option. And really, when you're buying or selling a company, it's not just going to go up or down. It might go up by a lot, it might go up by a little. People might be betting that it might go down by a little or down by a lot. And it's really the that is what you can see when you look at the option chain, how much people are betting on those. And it's really just the average of that is the stock price.
And that's what dealer positioning is. If you think about it, the asset value is the expected value of that rich distribution. And the expected value moves often, not because somebody's buying or selling the stock per se, but because maybe the value of puts increased, which means the expected value has to go down. Or maybe people are buying calls, which forces the price up. Why? Because if the dealer is going and selling those calls that people are buying, they have to go buy stock by arbitrage to manage the expected value of that distribution. So quite frankly, a lot of the driving of supply and demand in markets nowadays is not just buying and selling a stock, it's buying and selling a stock by market makers and dealers as a reaction to the options distribution change. So it is moving in that direction. And I've been saying this for a long time. Once upon a time, I'd say about 6 years ago, people thought I was crazy. But the reality that I think options are eventually going to eat the majority of the asset kind of two-dimensional trading market.
Okay, switching gears a little bit, just super briefly, we talked a little bit about your background, how you ended up here today. We do these things at Wealthsimple called Money Diaries. We always ask people a couple questions. Dumbest money move you ever made?
Dumbest money move I ever made? Probably in 08, 09, when I was making all this money in the firm, not coming out of it, being so focused on risk-adjusted returns, not being more aggressive, getting kind of broadly longer beta towards the end of that. And I think it took me several years to be. One of the problems that you learn about knowing a lot about risk is you become a slightly more risk averse, right? And if you become too risk averse and you're worried about risk. I wasn't worried, but I was more focused on risk adjusted returns than making maybe the bets aggressively that I had great confidence in. So over time, ironically, since as market maker, I've become much more delta driven, much more aggressive when I see the flows in my favor and the prediction kind of has a higher degree of certainty. So that's one thing I've learned from, we all make our mistakes and learn.
And, with the money that you made, what do you think is the smartest, wisest thing you ever did with money?
Yeah, I told you I'm an experienced collector. So yeah. I'd say investing in myself, taking the time to do new and different things, not letting fear get in the way. I think one of the biggest things we all face is not doing things because we're scared. And I've been very proud of myself that I've learned over the years that if there's something that I don't know about and I'm scared about, but I really want to do, I just go do it. And so I think that's the greatest investment I've kind of made myself.
All right, last Money Diary question. What do you think the purpose of money is in a person's life, and how did you come to believe that?
Money is freedom.
Wow, bro.
Money is freedom. Money allows you to, you could call it power, you call it all kinds of things, but what it is it's the ability to be self-actualized, to be able to fulfill your goals and dreams and aspirations in any way that you see. So it's freedom.
Is that something your parents taught you, or is that something you came to?
Not necessarily. I do think that my parents, I had, as immigrants, as people who came to this country for a better life, were very aspirational, and they saw money as important. And I think early on, I was like, money's too much importance given to money.
Right.
But as I get older, it's not about money. Again, it's about fulfilling your dreams and your aspirations, whatever those might be in life. And so I think money's important. Money is what allows us, if we work hard and achieve that, we can then influence and do the things for ourselves and the world in the ways that's important to us.
Seems wise. Okay. As we were getting ready to come up here, Matt's in the back on his phone, and he's, of course, looking at markets, and he's like, it just can't. It can't lose. Like it's back. Like the market is back. And last night I thought it was going to go down, but like it just refuses to go down. And given that we're sort of in all-time high territory, how dumb are we being right now? Or maybe not dumb at all.
Look, in the short term, this is a Benjamin Graham quote. Those that follow me will know this is important, is the short-term markets are nothing more than a voting machine, which means they're buyers and sellers. And depending on how many buyers there are versus sellers, that's the price. People watch CNBC and all these things thinking, okay, this news means this is going to happen. Right. There's so much that goes into supply and demand that has nothing to do with headlines, like zero, the majority of it in the short term. But Benjamin Graham says in the long term, markets are a weighing machine. In the long run, if all the facts and the realities come to push things to a certain direction, right? But that takes immense time. And when he talks about the long term, the reality, my experience is long term is sometimes whether it be month-end rebalancing, CTA flows, Vana charm flows in the options space. I could go on ad nauseam demand. And the reality is that's that supply and demand. Often the macro often takes, like I said, many, many quarters, if not years, to play out.
So can we, let's just take today for example. I mean, I woke up this morning, yet, SPY open green, end of the day at 1%. Like it's,
a certain direction, right? March 31st was end of quarter. So there was also a ton of rebalancing buyback. All of these things culminate in a short positioning that is vulnerable to a squeeze. And when you guys were up, I was watching in the green room behind, kind of looking at you guys like it's a pretty typical year when you look at everything. Do you know what's not typical? In 125 years, we have never, ever seen a rally of 15% at anything close to the speed we saw, which was essentially 15, from a decline less than 10%. Actually, we have seen none in a decline that was coming from anything greater than a decline of 20%. So you needed 20 to 25% to get this kind of rally.
That was Captain so obvious, obviously, okay, bro, the heck. It just from my ear with garbage, bro. I'm literally an anomaly, bro. What are you talking about? Like, look at this, bro. Like, how do you explain that? Like, just manipulation, bro. Like, if you're not expecting this to be rigged, I really don't know. Really don't know what we expect.
Bro, literally seen this and it is not cap. Like, um, so was there really like I didn't like get paid something out of chain and make this kind of money? Cap, no cap. I think Shane was the only time I thought they paid some amount of money from. At least, bro. So what I got kind of real was that you get to see actually 7 in the morning to drive all the way to Oakville to go freaking Nate. Thanks for the number. $70 in a day, $80 in a day. Job.
Holy, bro, that's crazy. That's crazy. Like these work people, like they actually just be scamming labor, bro. Like literally that thing, like it just reminded me of the general labor job that I did too. Luckily, I got paid regardless because it was a company, but the way they were pressuring me to just work fast, 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 and then they'll tell me, "Oh, you didn't, what's it called, meet the code for the end of the week on your first week, so we'll have to let you go." I'm like, bro, I was doing the job that I applied for, then I was doing the material handling job, and then I was doing the docking at the same time. What code, like what like meter are you even using to say that? And then they'll give me 15-minute break. I have one 15-minute break for lunch. Yeah, if I should have been complaining about that, not about the fact that oh I didn't mean no code. Like, nah, bro, it's funny. It's a funny environment.
Hey, Chad, someone told me he had a joke for me. What's the joke? What do you get when you mix niggas and Samoans? Samoan niggas. Oh, that Panda Express looks really good, man. Can I have a bite?
Bro, I don't even think you can eat this shit, can you?
Come on, bro. Don't do me like that. I can taste it
Just one little bite, man. I've been sitting here watching you with that orange chicken and fried rice. You really gonna eat in front of me like that? That's cool, Biz. That's actually evil. Just open the box and let me get a little taste.
Bro,
I'll even ask for more. I promise.
I didn't even know I was doing you wrong like that. I didn't even mean to eat in front of you. I was just showing you the food, bro. But I'll give you a bite if you want one.
Wait a minute. You got any weed? I need to smoke first.
What you mean you need to smoke first?
Man, you know how it is. I can just eat that shit drug, you know me? I ain't trying to get sober like you.
Smoke now? I mean,
I can taste it through the screen. I swear. Just one little bite, man. I've been sitting here watching you with that orange chicken and fried rice. You really gonna eat in front of me like that? That's cool, Biz. That's actually evil. Wait.
And you don't realize how fucked up you is until you start stretching with it. When you start stretching, cause
You're fat, baby. You're fucking fat.
I don't even like people, nigga. I don't even like niggas. So when I like niggas, like that. I don't even like people, nigga. I don't even like niggas. So when I like niggas, like that. I don't even.
Everyone keeps saying Aaron has changed. I thought he has too. But I wonder if we both got it wrong. It could be, but he's always been like this inside. Everyone keeps saying Aaron has changed.
I know my law. Hey, don't touch me, child. Don't touch me. Don't touch me, boy.
this right here, a picture of the owner of Personal Williams rapping on me after I asked him not to touch me 30,000 times. Him and the manager got a touching problem. I felt very uncomfortable in this situation. I was surrounded by a lot of angry men, and they all had pocket knives. Not to mention, they kept touching me. Look at him leaning on me, pushing me with his stomach. I'm not supposed to do that. I had to get him off of me, so I pushed him off of me. Once again, I told him to get off of me. And look, he's still leaning in for body contact. So, all I wanted to do was get my food with you. Only weigh 100-something pounds, sir. You can't be pushing and leaning on me like that. Let me show you how it all began, though. What's up?
I'll tell you right now. We're at Percy and Williams, and Florence stopped there at the last. We can back in and go on. What's up? Damn, though, this is our way. I'm hungry right now. Oh, yeah, let's get it, man. Hey, silver well. They already starting off bad. Two. Yeah. You say y'all out of the what?
No shit. I ended up ordering the baby back ribs. Let's see how the restaurant look. That shit probably dirty as hell.
Pretty clean. I don't got too much to say about that. Who's that? Jose.
Remember him? That's the manager that kept pushing me with his stuff. He didn't see me that mad just then. He asked me how I'm doing and everything. Who's up?
Hey, how you doing over there? What's that about, man? We fall faster than the mother, baby.
All right, now, y'all. Time to bring the popcorn out.
You look at the front door? Come to the front door with me. Who, you? I'm asking you to come to the front door. Oh, yeah, come on.
See, I thought he wanted to talk some business until I noticed his facial expression and body language.
Who you is? I'm the manager. Please come to the. Oh, you're the manager. So who you want me to come to the front door for? I'm asking you to leave the business. Why?
You don't have video in here. Y'all heard that? This man said call the police. Man, I only said why. Okay. I don't have video in here. Please bring the front door. Why you don't have video in here?
Ma. Ma.
Why you acting like that? You could have.
Ma. Okay, let's go.
I don't care about leaving. You could have had me better than that. That's what I'm saying. At this moment right here, my whole life reflecting in front of me. I feel like they want to get me locked up. Because peep this, we won't even talking for 15 seconds. And he already been calling the police. And guess what? I never said no. I had to take a deep breath. Tell you right now. What's up? I want that. Just like go do anywhere, right? I advise to live by I fought a person with it. That's the crazy part about it. So why would you kick me out anyway? Was I doing wrong? What did I do wrong? I literally came here and sat down, ordered my food.
Yo, that's actually kind of, I don't understand, bro.
Why didn't you just say no video? I would have stopped video.
How is he causing a disturbance, though? Like,
No video, and I would have stopped video. Why would you have to kick me out?
I'm the owner, and you need things to leave. I'll put you in jail.
I'm gonna put you in jail because you entered my store. Like, what?
Don't touch me, Charlie. Don't touch me. Don't touch me, boy. Don't touch me, guy. I'm telling you. Should get real in it, bitch, boy. Don't do it. I'm just walking up. Don't do it.
You're just walking up into his personal space, bro. These guys are passive aggressive as hell.
I'm gonna walk out.
I'm immediately. He's already assaulted me.
Assaulted how? You're walking into him, bro.
Ain't nobody assault you, boy. You on candy camera. That's how innocent people get locked up, right?
What the heck?
All evidence he would have swore up and down out here screaming assault. Really? You sound like a little bitch. You sound.
Yeah, I really don't care, bro. What is this place like? Yeah. The first time I'll ever do something like this because you're stupid.
Assaulted me. Right in my face. Man, shout you on camera, boy. I got you on camera. You on cameras too? Yeah, did I shout you? Yeah, man. All right. I will sue you, sir. Don't lie. Don't lie. I will sue you. Don't lie. Don't lie, boy. Calling me a boy now? Boy, don't lie, boy. Let
me get the fuck out of here before I flip this shit. He on the phone telling lies to the police.
I'm sorry, sweetheart. They tripping for no reason. I don't know what's wrong with him. He tweaking. I don't know what's wrong with him. He's tweaking, baby.
Oh, these people are not gonna get penalized for this thing, bro.
Time. We are so excited, and we're going to give you our best review. What do you think? This is the best one. No rant. Update.
I'm asking to leave the business. We don't allow video interview.
Y'all heard that?
Wow. Wow. We don't allow videoing in here, but okay. Okay. Nice to know.
Situation that's going on the internet with the top Percy's and Willie's and Florence. Never heard of it, never been. Not interested in going. But my only thing is, I see people are comparing videos to other people recording in there in the incident that happened. My only take on it, and I'm pretty sure y'all may not agree with me, but I saw where in their video all they showed was themselves and the food. I didn't see any staff in the one clip. It was the back of someone's head. It was no one's face. Some people don't want to be on camera, and I know y'all have this thing where, because me, I do content. I'm a blogger, whatever. I try to be conscious without getting people's face. I have seen people's full face in people's camera, and if I knew if I knew that, I would know exactly what it was, because I can see the person, right?
This is a normal day at Foundation Dispo.
This is what they call market making, bro. Literally the whole fucking session. I can still take profits right there, bro. Have a narrative that we're playing off on. Before I really get to see lower, I would like to see that being cleared on the NASDAQ. So anything lower, it's not something I'm really interested in. And that's why I let it go down to market open and I'm given a chance to go back higher. Ma! Hey, type. Finally. Mommy, I'm coming. Bruh. No, I have to edit, bro. We're not making money. We're just making money moves right now. Money comes later. Told it to go up. K.A. gang. Yo, what's good? I personally don't have one. Too much work for me, but I could give you one to join if you want a community. Actually, I'll actually even show you right now, to be honest. Like, I'm on it right now. There's free stuff that you can learn and all that. Not from me though, but from someone else, of course. Um, I don't even know. Like, there's a private section you have to pay for though. I just want to ask questions. Yeah, okay. This is the best place you can ask questions, bro. Like, realistically, there's a Q&A tab right here, just so you can ask questions if you're looking. I forget where it is, but yeah, questions right here. Discussion live. Then there's journals you can create for yourself if you wanna. Yeah, fearing. Yeah, that who he is, bro. He's just a normal person, bro. But he has more experience. That's just who he is, bro. Like, I'll send you the thing. You could go through it and look through it yourself. It's gonna be in the comments. You probably know of him. I don't know if you've seen him, but he's really on TikTok like that. You could join right there. And then there's this guy. This name, like if you go into the code, look for him, and then you could ask him questions. Like he's like a jester and all of this, bro. He gave me the bias to even execute on this because he had a 1 hour candle that he had like price referencing before we see lower prices or anything. So that's why I took the longs. So you could ask him for stuff like, yeah, there's someone else like this too. Like he was probably in the morning review, but you have to pay for stuff like that, like 75 USD. But yeah, no problem, bro. Good luck, all that. I was just about to end too, not gonna lie. You're like the first person in like the longest time, bro. But yeah. Yeah. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I'm just scrolling on my phone. Let me know if you got the link though, so I can end the stream and stuff. I don't know. There's guys like this, like stuff like this. Oh, low key, since like you're here, like if you want a view of what the paid part looks like, this is what it looks like, bro. Like, just look at this real quick. Luckily, the video will be off, so if you want to rewatch this, bro, feel free. but the paid section of this is like, this is what it's called. And luckily you can get like, you could pay your way into like the extra premium where like, I forget what's in the extra premium, but that's what I'm doing. I'm just paying monthly, and then later on I could be like a full-time like student and all that, but it's too much to really. Damn, why is my Wi-Fi so slow right now, dude? So yeah, this is what like you get if you pay for it. So they do morning reviews, like they do evening reviews after the market, and then on weekends there's reviews on just the whole price action and all of like the whole week in general. So it's a weekly review. And then right here, I'm not even close to being done. I have to like probably still go back and watch a few videos, but it's a lot of content to really take in. So you got to give yourself months too. So yeah, ask your questions and all that. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. I'm ending this. I'm not gonna lie.